Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to Side Hustle Ideas. I am Bill, the company's expert, and thank you for joining me here today. Wow, it is a dull, rainy morning, Monday morning, but that's okay because we are here, and we are here to talk about side hustles and all types of entrepreneurship, startups, that kind of thing, business in general, investment. I don't usually cover investment, but in investment in so much as it relates to the world of startups and entrepreneurship and side hustles. I am a big fan of people who learn business and use it to their advantage. I think it makes you a much more tuned in person to how the world works. And the more you know, the further you'll go. So that's what this is for. Special thanks to all my YouTube channel members and Patreons and super thanks donors. And also welcome to Sean North, who is the latest member of my YouTube channel. So thank you, Sean. Thank you for your support. Yeah, the other aspect of this is that as being somebody who's worked in large corporations and small businesses and also done startups and things, it is a really cool thing to be able to make money without having to be an employee, to work under somebody else's thumb, to be a slave of a big oppressive corporation. I have been in that position before. Fortunately, I've been liberated from that a long time ago, and I ain't never going back. And I said that to myself, and that's what I did. And the way you do that, one of the ways, is by learning business and getting into that world yourself. So I encourage people to do that. So that's what we're here to talk about. So this is primarily a Q&A. So get in the chat. If you see the chat box, let me know what you're wondering, what you're struggling with. While we're waiting for questions to roll in, I did have one comment that somebody left last week that I wanted to respond to. Somebody said, I would especially enjoy hearing any advice you have for dealing with the extreme ups and downs, as well as best marketing strategies for introverts. Okay, well, extreme ups and downs. First of all, I just got to say, because I'm a little self-conscious about this, I am not a psychiatrist, psychologist, so, I can't help you too much with that kind of stuff. But what I can say is that, there's ups and downs in any business. First of all, a lot of businesses are either they're cyclical or they're seasonal. And, you get the sort of busy period, you get the, the slack period. And, you have to allow for this. You have to recognize that that's normal. And, like a lot of things, to me, my approach to this isn't sort of like motivational techniques. It's sort of actual things you do that prepare you, So like, for example, if your revenue is going to dip in the slack period, maybe January, something like that, knowing this in advance helps because then you can allow for it. Psychologically, if you know that, okay, this is the slack period, there's not as much business coming in, but it should pick up in like a month or 2 months, that really helps, right? So that's something that you learn just by doing, right? Once you've done it for more than a year, you will probably recognize that trend next time it comes around. Chris is here, says, greetings from Vienna. Greetings, Chris. Vienna, capital of Austria, right? And whenever I hear Vienna, I always think Beethoven. Am I getting that right? That was where Beethoven was from? Center of art and culture for that region. Yeah, thank you for joining me. And as I say, if you guys have any questions, because I don't come with an agenda, I don't do any preparation of what I'm going to talk about. I just leave it up to you guys to point me in the right direction. What can I help you with? What are you struggling with? What are your ambitions? What would you like to do? And we can talk about how to do that. So yeah, dealing with extreme ups and downs, preparation is the best way to deal with this kind of stuff. If you know it's coming and you can take preventative measures, that's always the best way. Now, as well as the best marketing strategies for introverts. This is kind of cool because I'm an introvert. I know a lot of you guys watching or maybe introverts. And introverts, in the definition I've heard that I go from, are people who can do social interaction, but we don't find it enjoyable, right? We can do it, but we don't do it for fun. Best marketing strategies for introverts. Okay, the great thing when you're doing your own business or your side hustle is you can do it on your own terms. This is the great thing about it. You can decide how you're going to do your marketing, do your sales, and you can tailor it for the types of activities that you like doing and you are good at, as opposed to things that you don't like doing, you don't enjoy doing, and you're not particularly gifted at. So, the obvious answer there is social media. Okay, if you're an introvert, maybe you're comfortable working, from home or from wherever your location is normally, and being able to do it remotely rather than face to face. Okay, so that's one thing. I would do a lot of marketing on, from over social media. It will get you so far. It won't be as effective in some situations, but for the most situations, it will be a reasonably good substitute for personal selling or anything like that. Any kind of, phone calls or video calls or anything like that. It'll be much better. I do think, though, that a lot of introverts, you should consider using a side hustle or a entrepreneurial type venture as a vehicle for you to sort of get into the idea of interacting with people. Okay, because if you do it a certain way, and you can do this all on your own terms, this is the great thing. If you do it a certain way, you realize that it's not this huge, scary thing that you might be dreading. Okay. For example, what I mean is that if you were to talk to somebody, okay, maybe it's somebody you don't know. Now, normally you might, find it, you might get a little nervous at the prospect of doing this. But if it's a person that wants to talk to you, that is interested in your product or service, and they are already kind of, into the idea, they're wanting to learn more. And the nature of the interaction is they maybe ask you questions about it and you answer technical questions about the product or the service. I think a lot of introverts, that's less of a scary prospect. You don't have to persuade anybody. You don't have to use these, high pressure sales techniques that you would associate with a used car salesman. Nothing like that. Nothing like that. This is something that you would do entirely on your own terms. And, that freaks people out less. They think, okay, I could do that. I don't want to have to try and sell somebody on something. Grab a stranger, initiate a conversation with them when they're not interested in talking to me, and then try and sell them on something. Yeah, you don't have to do any of that. But if it's simply a matter of talking to a person that's already interested in, what you're putting out there, and they might have a few technical questions about how it works or, this kind of thing, that's usually a less scary prospect for a lot of introverts. So all I'm saying is that if you're an introvert, no pressure, but you might want to use this as a vehicle to develop some of your skills in that area, right? It doesn't have to be this big scary thing. I mean, I know from experience that when I found this stuff out like 20 years ago or whatever it was, more than that actually, that selling isn't this necessarily this huge scary thing that is slimy and underhanded and high pressure. You realize that the process, generally the way it works is you put something out there like a message. You put out a post on social media, you do like text or a picture or video, whatever. And then some people who see that, who are interested, they think, that's interesting, that maybe there's something in that. They then initiate some kind of interaction with you. It's not this huge, high pressure, awful, cringy kind of interaction usually. So there you go. Now, as I'm talking about this, I see the amount of people going lower and lower, the amount of people attending the live stream just dropping off. So, yeah. Well, anyway, that's the reality of it. Maybe it is kind of a scary prospect for a lot of introverts, but it might seem that way, but it really isn't. So any steps you take to improve yourself in that area, it will directly benefit you in the future. Yeah, so, okay, we're not really getting any questions. That's fine. But yeah, like, just to kind of go with that topic, because why not? I think it's interesting, even if not many other people do. It's just to share with people something, like, sort of my journey getting into this world. Because, if you're an introvert, it's not traditionally associated with people selling stuff, people doing their own business venture, right? And you have to sell in some way. That's the way businesses work, right? And some people are looking for side hustles that, you can just sort of join almost as a robot. You don't have to know anything about the business, like Uber. You don't have to worry about selling it. You don't have to, understand who your customers are necessarily, or, what you would have to communicate to them to get them to want to pay for the service. You don't have to worry about any of that. That's already done for you. You're just joining as a sort of laborer, as it were, right? Unskilled labor. You drive the car. A lot of side hustles are like that. The problem, though, is that, it's hard to make serious money. It's hard to make decent money doing that because somebody else is doing the thinking for you, right? You're basically saying, I don't understand any of that stuff. I don't want to understand any of that stuff. I just want to do something simple and straightforward I know how to do, like drive a car. And they say, okay, sure, we'll take care of everything that requires thought and strategy. We'll plan everything out. We'll do everything for you. All you have to now do is drive a vehicle, right? That's great. And they take 90% of the profit, basically. So that's the issue with that. It's easy. And maybe it's good in the beginning if you want to go that route. But in the end, you're not going to make your first million doing that, put it that way. So that's why I encourage people, like, business really isn't that complicated. To learn business, you really don't have to do much, and it's not this super complicated, complex thing that only, a privileged few people are smart enough to know how to do. It really isn't. So there's no reason why anybody wanting to do their own side hustle or entrepreneurship type venture to make money on the side, there's no reason why you can't learn this stuff. It's actually pretty simple. So if you do, then you don't have somebody skimming 90% of the profits off the top and giving you the remainder. You get to keep the whole thing. This is the great thing about it. And you get complete control over how you do it and when you do it and under what conditions you do it. You get complete control. That's the other advantage of doing this. You don't have to answer to somebody. You do your thing your way, and you could even turn your hobby or some kind of creative passion you might have into a money-making entity that you use to enrich yourself. I mean, what better livelihood is there than that, right? Taking a passion or something you're really into, like a hobby, and turning it into a money-making venture. It's a win-win-win. So that's why I encourage people, like, learn the basics of business. This will be to your advantage, and it will benefit you the rest of your life. And something that was kind of a bit of a revelation to me many years ago was just how this stuff worked. Like, I used to have this idea in my mind when I was like in my 20s or whatever, that salespeople and selling, it was this horrible, scary thing. You have to use high pressure tactics to pressure people who are not interested in your thing to buy your thing, almost like fooling them in some way or browbeating them in some way to get them to do this. And that's not how this stuff works. Basically, you're saying, look, here's what I got. I have this. It does this. If you're interested, here's what you do. Let me know. Here's, where you go. If it's a website or a physical store, or you need to contact me, whatever, like the action is, right? So the idea is that people doing that action, presumably they're interested already, right? And then beyond that, the idea is not, I'm going to sell you something and make money no matter what. You don't think like that. You think like, okay, look, if this is useful for you, if this could be useful to you, then it makes sense for both of us, right? That I can help you and you want to be helped, right? And then we're just discussing how it works. That's the process. It's really not this big scary thing. It's not dishonest. It's not slimy. It's not underhanded or, although some people operate that way, that's really not in general what this is, what selling is, and what it has to be like. Vast majority of businesses don't, like they're doing what I described. They're not doing some kind of weird high pressure thing. You could be forgiven for thinking that if you get people to come door to door, knock on the door of your home and try and sell you something, or, occasionally you'll get people calling you on the phone trying to sell you something. Like, you could be forgiven for thinking that, that's what sales is and that's how it has to be. No, that's the wild exception, actually. So once you realize this, you realize, okay, it isn't this big, horrible, scary thing. It's basically you explaining what it is that you do and how it can help people. That's not that hard. If you've created this thing, you're telling people, like, look, I got this thing. This is what it does. This is why it's a good thing. If you find yourself in need of this thing provides a solution. This is how it works, And that's not necessarily scary. If you know all about the thing that you created, which presumably you do, it shouldn't be a problem explaining it, right? So that's the very beginnings of like selling, and in a lot of cases, that's kind of all you have to do. And if you're selling to people like yourself, people that they know they want to get this thing, they know if they have a need for it, then it's actually a lot simpler than most people think it is. So that's basically the idea, So someone asked me, best marketing strategies for introverts. That's the approach. Like, you start out with that mindset, you start out with that general approach to this whole thing. And it's just a matter of filling in the details, depending on your personal situation. And there we go. So now that I can draw breath, get in the chat. If you are here, I see there's 14 of you guys here. Get in the chat. Let me know if you have something I can help you with. You're wondering something in the world of startups, entrepreneurship, side hustles. What are your ambitions? What are you trying to do? Some people are looking for ideas of what they could do. Some people have very definite ideas of what they want to do, but they have no idea how to go about doing it. Other people want to learn how business works so they can make good decisions as to what to do. What thing should I do first? What should I spend my time on? How should I go about doing it? What should be my goal? These kind of things, right? So if you're in that situation, get in the chat and let me know what you're wondering, and I will do my best to help. Later today, I have my live stream for getting hired, called How to Get Hired, where we talk about resumes, job interviews, job search campaigns, recruiters, hiring managers, the hidden job market, all that kind of stuff, careers in general. That's where we talk about that. And last week I did a video on, I called it Resume Roast, based on somebody's suggestion. Somebody had a very good idea. Somebody who bought my course, actually, one of my course. They had just bought my course. I can't remember which course it was. I think it was the $100 MBA. And they messaged me and they said, you should do a video on this. So I said, that's actually a good idea. So I did a video on that. And what I did is I went online and just looked at some sample resumes and did like a critique of them. In my opinion, this is what they're doing right. This is what they're doing wrong. And here's some tips. And then a couple of people responded and said, you should do one where we send in our resumes and you critique our resumes instead of, just generic ones off the internet. And I got no problem with that. So if you want to participate in that, feel free to send me your resume. Make sure that I can put the whole thing online. Like, if you got names or phone numbers or whatever, confidential stuff on there, take it off, because I'm going to obviously be taking this and putting it on the screen and then talking about it. So if you want to do that, that's perfectly fine. Send it to my contact email address on my YouTube channel, and I can do that. Well, there you go. There's not a lot of activity today. Usually we get more people and more questions, more activity in the chat. Unfortunately, it's not really happening that much today. Okay, and just as I say this, I get the first comment in here. Mazamo, is that how you say that? Mazamo Blessing. Hi, I'm in South Africa. I've been looking for anything that can make me sit down and work on my laptop, but nothing is available for my country. Please help on that. What do you mean? Like, are you talking about starting a company? Or you're talking about like a side hustle, I'm assuming. And Boston Boss says, salute to Boston Boss. Thank you for joining me. Well, you got to be a bit more specific, Mazamo. Anything you can do on your laptop, help me with that. I'm not sure what you mean specifically. Are you looking for a side hustle you can do from your laptop? If that's what you're asking, I mean, the sky's the limit. Okay, there's all types of activity that you can do. You can do any kind of freelance work. So I don't know what your background is. I don't know what you do, what your capabilities are, but whatever they are, you can usually find people online that are specifically interested in that thing. Okay. So, for example, if you knew how to provide some service, you can sell that service, on the internet, right? You use your laptop to connect to the internet. You usually go on social media sites, LinkedIn, Facebook, those are the big ones, Instagram, and you look for communities of people that talk about the thing that you're providing. So if you provide, copywriting, you provide graphic art design or something in some way, you provide information services in some way, right? You can usually find people. So for example, let's say for like just the sake of an example, you did some kind of craft work, like you could create objects with wood, either as ornaments or as tools, whatever, right? And maybe you do this for fun, you kind of do sculpting or you do carpentry or whatever, right? Now, there are many people in the world that will deal with, shaping wood, as an example. You could create ornaments and sell them as products. You could provide a service for people who produce some kind of thing in wood, but they need it treated in some way or they need it processed in some way, right? So what you would do is you go online and go to those communities, go and look at the community for ornaments, right? You could go to Instagram, you can go to Pinterest, you can go to Facebook, you can even go to LinkedIn. You can go outside of like social networking just to like static websites. There'll be events for ornaments and woodworking, anything closely related to it. Like, this is not really my world, so I don't know the lingo, but like, people that are artisans that, create things out of wood and stuff, like they'll have trade shows, they'll have auctions, they'll have, events where people buy and sell them and discuss them, enthusiasts, this kind of stuff. And what you do is you plug yourself into whichever one of those worlds is most directly related to what you want to do. And those would be where you would find your potential audience, like customers, your market, and also people that can help you or that can show you how it's done, right? So you would start by interacting with them and by putting things out there and saying like, hey, I can do this. Is anyone interested? Or you get into group discussions about it and find out how it's generally done, right? And learn about that business. So that would be the starting point. And that's what I would encourage you to do. And if you don't know exactly what you want to do in the beginning or what form it's going to take, that's fine. Just start, like take one option and just start, okay? Go and learn about that world, see if it's something you're interested in, seeing if it looks promising and that sort of thing. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. I see that there's a follow-up question. Yes, side hustle. I'm currently a student studying marine engineering, and I'm looking for a freelancing job or a side hustle to have basic info on HTML coding from my high school. Okay? Great. Well, like, for example, HTML coding, okay, and just developing in general, coding in general, There's a lot of applications for that. There's a lot of people that have a need for it. So start doing searches, start joining groups, start joining communities for all that stuff, and start like reading discussions and seeing what people are doing. Look at examples of other people that are selling stuff, providing services. Okay. For example, in your hometown, I'm sure that there are people that are in that business that are selling, their services as developers, right? Well, if you could find out who they're selling to and what type of work they're doing, and where you learn about that, that would be a great starting point, right? And then you're going to follow the trail of breadcrumbs from there, right? You start there, and it leads you somewhere else, and it leads you somewhere else, and you're going to be learning as you go. Okay. So I know this is very general, but this is a very general question. That's kind of the thing you got to do. Jordan Ward is here. Jordan Ward says, I'm in Florida now and just can't take it anymore. Haha. Okay. My team in Florida is typically number one in the entire company, which should make me a more attractive candidate. Okay. However, I'm worried that makes the situation look even more peculiar. I'm not getting the context here, Jordan. Is this like in the context of doing a side hustle? What's your team? Like, is this your own business or something? Or what are we talking about? But yeah. Learner says, you missed my question. I didn't get a question. It didn't come through, Learner. I'm not sure if there's something going on there. I've got to turn on the YouTube filters because I had a bunch of spam and malicious stuff going on in the chat like a while back. And since then, I've had to turn on the YouTube filter. So sometimes I know it like filters stuff out. Make sure it's clean. Make sure there's not no kind of weird words or anything in there. And hopefully it'll go through. Like what I show up here is basically what I'm seeing, right? So if it didn't show up there too, then we got a problem. Well, there was first paragraph missing. Yeah, it sounded like that. Is it possible to cut and paste? Maybe just, I don't know, rephrase it or something. Once again, I'm not a big fan of the YouTube filters, but as I said, I've learned that I have to turn them on or else people just ruin the whole thing. Unfortunately, the first kind of year I was on here, I didn't have any filters on it, and it worked fine until people kept posting a bunch of malarkey in the chat. So I apologize for that. If you could try and post it again, I'll be happy to respond. It's just a matter of getting it to show up here, getting it to show up in the feed. Yeah, I apologize for anyone that's having problems getting their stuff to show up if that's what's going on. I'm using YouTube and I'm using Streamlabs OBS, and I'm not a huge fan of Streamlabs OBS either. They've done some shenanigans where they break their own software and then they lie about having done anything, and then they fix it a couple of weeks later. And, the official word is, oh, nothing's happened. No change. Why? Right? So I'm getting a little tired of that. But yeah, repost if it's not showing up. Isn't Florida experiencing some giant storm right now? Just playing the odds. No, just kidding. Like a week ago or something, wasn't it? It came up from Florida, went up the east coast of the U.S. and into Canada, into the Maritimes. Caused a bit of a kerfuffle, as I understand it. I guess it was a break from the wildfire smoke. You get the wildfire smoke the whole summer, and then just as a change, you have like a nice hurricane rolling in, kind of thing. And I think we got it from you guys in Florida. So you're to blame. Just kidding. Jordan Ward, I posted 3 times. I'm not sure what's going on. That sucks. I'm sorry. I apologize. I don't know what's going on. People have commented on that before. I'm going to have to recheck some of these filters because it's clear that they're doing more than just taking out stuff they should. They're taking out a bunch of other stuff that they shouldn't be. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. You know, if it's a big deal, if you want to put it in an email and send it to me, maybe what I'll do is I can respond to it on the next one of these. Okay, I'll get that, and then I'll address it first thing in next week's episode, and we'll do it that way. Sorry about that for anyone who's being impacted by this. But yeah, look, okay, if you want to do a side hustle, okay, for a lot of people, like unless you've done business ventures before yourself, okay, unless that's you, for most people, this is going to be a learning journey. And something that Mazamo was saying, you know, maybe 5-10 minutes ago in their question, you know, if you're young, you're stepping into this world, and it's kind of intimidating because, you know, you don't know what you should do. You don't know where to even start, right? You're on a journey to establish either a side hustle or a full-fledged business, whatever journey you're on. Really, what the nature of the journey you're on is, it's a learning journey, okay? You're going to be learning all about a specific thing. You're going to be learning how to do it, how to make money with it, where it could go, okay? It's a learning journey. Like if you knew exactly what you would do that you enjoyed doing, and it was also a thing that a lot of people would pay you for, and if you knew exactly where those people were and how to reach them, and then if you knew exactly what to say to them, how to present it, that would make them want to buy it from you, right? This would be easy, right? It would be a no-brainer. You know, you could just snap your fingers, you'd be rich, right? But of course, you don't know all that stuff when you're starting out. You don't know what you could do. You could do maybe many things, but you don't know which one of them would be the best, would be the optimal one that you would enjoy, and also it would be profitable for you. And then if you knew which one, you don't know how to do it, and you don't know who to sell it to and where those people are and what you say to them or how you present it. You don't know any of that stuff, right? So this is the journey you're on. And you start by learning. You start by immersing yourself in whatever world it is, whatever industry. If that industry already exists, you start there. If it doesn't exist, you sort of start with what there is, okay? And, you know, that could look like going on the internet and reading a whole bunch of stuff, and then getting on social media and looking at these communities where they talk about that stuff. And then it can involve talking, like not just reading, but actually participating, kicking ideas around with people, you know, putting stuff out there, doing posts of some kind or messages of some kind, or DMing people. You know, some people might have the answers that you're looking for. And so, you know, you're sort of contacting them and wanting to interact with them. That's how it's going to look like. And then the other form, you know, of doing this, once you've sort of done that for a while, is you would then try something. That's the next sort of form of learning. You know, say you're wanting to learn how to sell ornaments or something. I don't know. You want to make ornaments, you know, at home and then sell them. Like maybe that's your thing. So you start by talking to people, learning all you can about it. But then you try something. You say, does anybody want to buy this? Right? And then you see what the reaction is. And you say that to different people in different forums. Right? And this is what, you know, like you're going to be learning all the time going down this road, right? And if you do enough of that, you'll learn how this business works, you know, what people respond to, what they don't, what they're looking for, what they're not, right? You know, if it makes sense, if it's something you could maybe do, or something that, you know, you don't really have a competitive advantage in. Like, for example, if you wanted to get into oil refining, you know, you need $1 billion facility to do that. So it's maybe not the best business to try and go into, right? But maybe making ornaments, maybe that's something you can do. You know, maybe the thing that determines who wins that game is more of your creativity and stuff. So that levels the playing field, and you could maybe get into it and do that, right? So, you know, it's basically a learning journey, okay? It seems like you're on a journey to make money. You're actually not. You're on a journey to learn. And the learning will last you the rest of your life. Okay? This is the great thing. The more you learn, the more you're going to make better decisions. So, hopefully things work out. People stumble across things that work. But like, let's say, you're still doing this in 5 years. You're still like passionate about this kind of thing. In 5 years, if you stumble across something and okay, here's what I have to do. Here's how I'm going to do it. Here's how I'm going to sell it. Here's how much I'm going to charge. And here's how I'm going to like set the whole thing up. And then you have like, a money-making entity, a going concern. And it's financial freedom. It's creative freedom. It leads to a lot of good things, right? So, but you start by basically learning, right? So if you have a passion to do a certain thing, let's get into it. Get into that industry. Learn how people do it. You start by reading things, being passive, and then you start to be interactive, right? And then you start trying things. The more things you try, the more you learn. And yeah, you risk your time being wasted if it doesn't work out. You risk maybe a little bit of, embarrassment, or, you did something that didn't work, and you feel bad about it. But you learned a hell of a lot in the process. So I encourage people to do this. There's a lot of young people that they don't do this. It's almost like they're waiting to be given permission to do this. If you're interested in something, go out and do it. Don't risk your life savings. Don't like take massive risks. Just like, how much do you risk by getting on the internet and interacting with people? As long as you're not handing over credit card numbers or something. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You're not really risking a lot, right? Or if you say, look, I could do this. Is anyone interested? I mean, how risky is that? What's the worst that could happen? No one responds. You didn't risk anything. It didn't cost you any money, right? So yeah. Jim Hansen is here. Jim Hansen says, hello. I had a supervisor who interviewed me with unusual questions. Oh, we're talking about job interviews. What do you like about your worst job, and what do you dislike about your worst job? How do I answer these questions? Well, I will let you know on my live stream where we talk about that stuff. Jordan Ward, geez, I changed the wording a few times and it won't pop up. Oh, that sucks. I'm sorry, Jordan. That bites. Listen, put it in an email, send it to me, and I will address it next episode. Okay, like I will start by, addressing some question that you'd sent me. Okay, and hopefully it sucks that we have to do that, but hopefully that'll work. Okay, yeah. Listen, to all the people that tried to post something that for some reason it's not working for you. Yeah, that really defeats the whole purpose of this. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry you've had a bad experience. Anything that didn't go through that you'd still like to get an answer for, as I say, put it in an email, send it to me, and that should hopefully go through, and I will respond to it next week's episode, first thing. Usually there's a lag between the time I start the stream and the time questions start rolling in. So this will be perfect. This will fill that time. Okay, so you'll get an answer, Jordan, or at least I'll do my best to get that to you. Anyway, I'm gonna start wrapping this up for this week. Thank you for joining me today. You guys are awesome. We will be doing this every week at the same time, more or less, Monday mornings. Side Hustle Ideas. I'll be back with another episode next week. Check out my courses if either of those, could help you with your goals. And I will be back in something like 15 minutes or 20 minutes with my regular live stream, How to Get Hired, where we talk about job interviews and careers and that kind of stuff. Getting a job in the world of being an employee. Okay. So that's a Q&A, and that'll be back in about 20 minutes. So thank you for being here. You guys are awesome. I will see you soon. Take care.